Hey guys, welcome back to the shop. So today we're going to work on a key rack. It's a nice little project, easy to do, don't need too many tools, and they sell pretty good. So I just recently got an order for one that I don't have in stock, a Fleur de Lis key rack. Here's an example of one I do, similar. This is a canoe, and this one here I've actually donated to a local auction, charity auction, for it's called Camp for a Cure. And so one of my not too far away neighbors and fellow YouTuber Jim Baird and his wife Tori raise awareness for Fox 1, and so this one's going to get given away to them in their auction. You can find them, Camp for a Cure, on Instagram. I'll put a link in the description. And what we're going to do today is similar to this, but instead of a canoe shape, we're going to do a fleur de lis at each end. And the nice thing about this design of key rack is you can put whatever end detail you want on here. I've done a paddle, canoe, flowers on the end, plain ones, just rectangular, fleur de lis, and hearts even. So anyhow, stick around and hope you enjoy it. Going to need a little bit of raw material here. For the hooks, we're using 1/4" round bar. For the rivets, 3/16 by 1/2" copper rivets. I get these from McMaster Carr. And then for the backing bar, 1¼ by 3/16 flat bar, mild steel. We'll start with bending the hooks, and in order to do that, I've got a simple bending jig that I've made. Basically a piece of round bar welded to a piece of angle iron, 2 symmetrical pieces placed opposite to one another. You can slide them back and forth to adjust for different material thicknesses. You set that up with the proper gap, 1/4" in this case. And we'll heat up some material and we'll bend the bar. We come out of the fire and into the bending jig. I'll leave it a little bit long in that area. I find it's best not to heat the whole piece, and I do it in 2 heats, and it seems like a waste, but it just ends up with a much more consistent bend if you heat just the front of the bar and then heat the rest of the bar to come around. It's a small detail, but it makes a difference in the finished product. Okay. So there's your first hook. It's bent with this edge being long, and of course we can cut this anywhere we want. So what I'll do is I'll bend 4 of these, and then we'll go to the bandsaw and we'll cut them off. So for me, the hook length is 2¼ inches. So what I do is just attach the tape measure to the edge of the blade, measure out 2¼ and put a chalk mark. This is the line that I'll put the bottom of my hook to. That'll be my guide. So we get them all to the same length, and then we've got to make the hook end the same. So we just pick the shortest one, clean it up, and then go clean the rest of the same height. So the first one there is the shortest one. They'll all end up like that. 4 equal length hooks. Now we'll do a set down here, 1/2 inch, and that'll be for our rivet hole. So I've marked it at 1/2 inch, 1/2 inch there by eye. Make sure that it's square as can be, 1/2 on, 1/2 off. Turn it over, check for square, make a small correction if you need to. Now's the time to do it. From here it's still hot, straight into the canola oil. And that's all I do to finish those. Then I've marked the 10-inch mark on the anvil here. mark the workpiece. I'm going to take that off camera over to the bandsaw and cut it off square. You could do that with a hacksaw if you don't have a bandsaw, or with a cutting wheel on a grinder, if you're careful. Okay, so now we need to put the Fleur de Lis on the end. So I like to draw some lines on here, 1/2 inch, 1 inch, 1.5, and 3 inch. Three inches, two different dimensions here. It's well, it's one dimension, but it has two functions. One, it's a theoretical intersection point for the Fleur de Lis. So from the intersection of the corner to the center of that 3 inch mark. Incidentally, this is not the right thing to use for layouts, but it shows up better on the camera than just scribing the lines, which is what I'll do. I will scribe these lines. Okay, so there's your theoretical. And then you also need is a center line, obviously. And then you're going to draw, these will be chiseled on, something like that. So once you've got your lines laid out, you can start to transfer them. And I've already started here, but you get the idea with the chisel. So you have something to find once the piece is up to temperature. So I want to be careful not to chisel right through this and into the top of the anvil. So when we get down to the final heat, we'll probably put a soft plate underneath us. Put underneath. Okay. So now we can chisel out the tip of the arrow or the tip of the Fleur de Lis. I guess it's the tip of the flower. Just had a little bit of a revelation. Rather than cut the tip off of that, I'm going to go ahead and start working on the other end. And the reason for that is that I like to roll these over on the corner of the anvil by tapping up here. And I don't want to damage the point, so we'll leave it intact. So we've got both ends chiseled. What I'm going to do now is start to roll the scrolls on the side by tapping on this end and having this locked over the corner of the anvil. Is to roll this over with scrolling tongs. find that these don't grip that well though. That's why I do it the way I do it over the anvil. Kind of looks like Gumby waving. We'll even them out with the scrolling tongs. So once you get all 4 scrolls looking the way you want them, you can chisel the ends off without worrying about blunting the ends by tapping them with a hammer. And always be aware that when you're chiseling this, it is going to come flying off if you're not careful and land in some dark corner of your shop. Okay. Well, that end's come free. We'll heat the other end. Again, this temperature is a compromise because I don't want to burn those scrolls. So. Beeswax, turpentine, linseed oil. Apply it at a high enough temperature that it smokes. We'll bake it on. It's a great finish. It lasts a long time. I know what you're thinking. I'm using a drywall scroll. But they do match the finish all right. And I could modify some other hardware, I suppose, but I'm pretty happy with the result. So I countersink the back of the rivet holes just to give the rivet somewhere to expand into. And then obviously I countersink the screw holes so the screws sit flush. Okay, now we've got all the holes drilled. So 3/16 rivets, I drill a slightly oversized hole um, just to make it go together quite easily. You can do whatever you like, or whatever you can do with whatever drills you have. So in my case, I do have a full complement of drills, so I was able to do 190 thou. 3/16 is 1875. So you'll get away with 3/16, but you might find that the rivet's tight in the hole. Now, I just lay that copper rivet right on the anvil and peen it over from the back. It does flatten the front of that rivet a little bit. That's it, guys. One Fleur de Lis key rack. And if you want to straighten those hooks at all, if you're careful, you can. Mostly these are good. This one could go a little bit. There we go. Thanks for tuning in, guys. I hope you learned something, and I hope you get out to your shop and try to make something like this for yourself or for a friend, family member. Make great gifts. And of course, if you don't want to make one, you could always head over to my website and order one from me. I'd be happy to make you one. Have a great day. We'll see you again soon.